Hello, welcome back to the Easy Hard versus Hard podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping you find the work that actually matters in your life. Today, we're going to go a little bit off the topic of the book and discuss something that has been weighing on my mind and heart, and also some feedback that I've been getting from listeners and readers of my newsletter on the concept of how do we think about easy hard versus hard hard. What are the cognitive pieces of this outside of actually doing the work? And I think this is very important to discuss because what we think about and how our minds work and how we interact with the thoughts and opinions of others is critical in truly finding your hard work. If you are going along with the crowd or thinking things that you think people want you to think, or just blindly go on what they tell you, you're never going to be able to truly experience the full benefits and, I think, beauty of the hard work. So there's a concept called groupthink. And groupthink is basically a desire to get along, a harmony within a group. And oftentimes this overrides someone's critical thinking. Often there's silent pressure to conform with others, not to question, just do what they say. And we see this in a lot of areas in our lives today, whether it's what we believe about politics, religion, nutrition, you name it. Pretty much everything has a group. And humans desire to be part of a group, and studies have even shown that the groups that we associate with are valuable in our lives and can give us meaning, and some even say it provides longevity. But what I don't think is addressed is being part of a group doesn't mean that you are wholly bought into the group. I'm seeing more and more that you can identify as something. Let's say it's a political party or a nutrition. Let's say you're a carnivore versus vegan, and people buy into everything. And they think if you don't follow the dogma of what that group is putting out, then you can't be those people. And that takes away your autonomy. That takes away your individualism. And it's something that we need to watch, right? There are a lot of classic examples of disasters that have happened for groupthink. The Challenger explosion, the Bay of Pigs, the list goes on and on. When a group gets together and no one will challenge an assumption or a premise, bad things can happen. Well, this can also happen to you, and this can happen to the way you form your thoughts and the way that you go about your life and the way you interact with others, and more importantly, how you interact with yourself. Groupthink has been studied to show that it leads to, worse decisions, poor decisions, missed opportunities, and it also stagnates or prevents innovation and creativity. I think that if we allow this to happen in our lives, there's a lot of dangers in that, right? Because if you're going along with a group or thinking things just because someone tells you this, or that's what the dogma of the group you're a part of is, you're preventing your own creativity, your own innovation, your own ability to think through things and decide what's right for you. And ultimately, that's what the hard work's all about. Of course, it's finding the work that's meaningful for you, the work that matters for you. How many times have you, suggested to a friend or spouse that, hey, let's go to this restaurant. And they're like, oh no, I don't like that food. Well, if you're not strong in your thinking, soon you're going to believe that you don't like that food. But why would you have suggested it in the first place? Again, and when we allow anything to overtake what we truly want and what we truly believe, it's dangerous. So how does this apply to the easy hard versus hard method? Well, groupthink is most of the time an easy hard. You're going along with the group, you're chasing goals or ideas just because everyone else is. The old adage is, if everyone was jumping off a cliff, would you too? And of course, we all say no. But oftentimes, we do it subconsciously, right? We're not jumping off a cliff, but we're changing the way we think or the way we behave based on something. We're not allowing our logical brains or how we perceive the world or what we know to be true to overcome what someone else thinks. I once heard a podcast and a gentleman was saying that a bunch of his friends had joined CrossFit, and they had joined CrossFit to, get fit and get healthier. But pretty soon they started using the same language as their, colleagues. They started wearing the same clothes. And eventually it was less about the workout and being healthy. It was more about being part of the group and fitting in with the group. And this is something that I really think that we have to look at for the easy hard and start questioning, what do we think, or what perceptions of ours or even our values have changed because of the influence of others. Hard work is a little bit different in the way we think about things. It's more independent. You speak up. You're always questioning assumptions and learning, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. I like to listen to people that have differing opinions on matters than I do because I want to understand how they think and how they came up with those issues. What I find is a lot of people that are very deep into groupthink oftentimes don't have any logical explanation for why they're doing. They can't tell me why they believe a certain thing or why they said a certain thing. And this is easy hard. If your daily interactions, things that you're not doing to improve your life, just, day-to-day interactions and hobbies, if you allow them to overtake your thoughts and then change who you are as a person, this gets you to the problem of purpose, the problem in your meaning in life. Because once that starts in the mundane tasks of your life, where are the limits? Where does it stop? How often will you change your opinions about something you truly want to do? So many times when a friend tells me, or we're in a group and they say, hey, I want to go do this, there's always 3 or 4 people that say, oh, well, here's the negative. You can't do that, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. Well, pretty soon, if you listen to these people, you're going to start believing it yourself. And once you start believing it yourself, you slip out of the hard or the opportunity for hard and go to the easy hard. Real change can't occur until you're able and willing and give yourself the permission to think differently. That doesn't mean you go and argue with everyone and put your opinions out like they're gospel, but you allow yourself to sit and contemplate and change your mind. A lot of times people criticize people for changing their mind, but why wouldn't you expect someone to think differently 10 years than they do today? I don't know why we as a society don't give people the freedom to change their opinions, to change their minds on something. But more importantly, why don't we do it for ourselves? Why don't we give ourselves the freedom, the grace, the permission to explore, to learn new things? We can't possibly know everything about everything. In fact, the older I get, the more I realize how little I do know. And while I may have, certifications, degrees that say I'm a quote unquote expert of something, there's always more to learn. There's always more to explore. Another book I read, a doctor said when he was in medical school, one of his professors said, what we're going to teach you, we're going to find out that 50% of it is not true or proven to not be true. The problem is we can't tell you which 50%. So there are certainly absolutes in life, but when it comes to the way you think and your opinions, your observations on things, they're going to change, and they may not be as absolute as you think. And if you get into this absolute mindset where everything is black and white, then you're going to limit yourself, and you're going to eventually stray further and further away from who you truly are, what your core values are, what you want to pursue in life. Don't be influenced by others. Take their information, absorb it, think about it, apply it to your life as appropriate. So if you find yourself in a groupthink or identify with some of these, what can you do? As I mentioned previously, seek out opposing views. listen to what other people are saying, but I would tell you, listen to them critically, and not critically like you're judging them, but critically and watching how they come up with their views and opinions. Are they part of another group, or are they really thought these things out? I'm very frustrated these days that with the labels that we all put on ourselves in any area of our life, and the fact that if you don't believe fully into something, then you're not part of that group. Well, you can agree with a certain political party on 90% and the 10% be different, but does that 10% matter? Is it enough to kick someone out of the group? Take religions in the world, for example. They probably agree on 90 to 95% of, the teachings and the principles. But yet that 5-10% has caused a lot of wars, a lot of suffering, a lot of, hatred. And that's one of the dangers of groupthink. So seek out opposing views and really think about them and see if there's room to change your opinion. And maybe you find it just strengthens the opinion you already had, and that's great too. Another way to break free of groupthink is to start practicing your own voice and, giving your opinion, even if it's not popular or it differs from the group. But when you do this, make sure it's well thought out and that you have a reason for it. Provide examples, give scientific research or, numerical, qualitative data to support what you've got. Because if you're going to differ from the group, you're going to be attacked. So just be prepared for that, but also let your voice be said. My tuba professor in college used to say, if you don't say what you want, nobody will. So when you have the opportunity to speak, do it. Don't be scared. Don't hold it back, because you don't know what you say in that room. While it might not be accepted by the group, it may change an individual's thinking, and it may take them out of the easy hard and push them to the hard. The last thing, as a coach, we always talk about values and what moves you to do something. But one of the best ways to get out of groupthink is to really concentrate on your values, really know what they are, and apply your actions to your values, but also your thinking. So if you start finding that your values are questioned by something someone tells you or a group proposes, really sit back and think. And only you can decide if this aligns with you. But at the same time, don't allow your values to suffer because of the opinions and ideas that others are bringing to you. So have you ever had a time where you saw yourself into groupthink, or can think of a time where maybe you set aside what you believe just to get along? If so, how did you feel? Did you take the opportunity to learn from that, to really check in, or did you just accept it? The point of change is to always look at what happens and then come out on the other side either better, hopefully better, and not worse. But if you start, buying into groupthink or setting aside what you personally believe time and time again, pretty soon you're going to forget what you believe. Your mind's going to be confused. And as we talked about in previous episodes, it's going to start protecting you from the ideas that are really yours and what you really want to do. So really take a moment and think about, a time that you've done it. It could have been yesterday. It could have been today. It could have been years ago. The point is we've all done it. When I was living my easy, hard life, I was groupthink all the way, right? I'd read an article and I'd say, oh, you got to do this, you got to do this. And even though I didn't feel right for me, or my body didn't respond, or my mind was like, whoa, no, don't do this, I still did it because I wanted to be accepted. But what I found is the more I did that, the less I accepted myself. And again, that's one of the biggest values of the hard work. You're going to start accepting yourself. You're going to start believing in yourself. Hopefully you'll start loving yourself, or at the very least liking yourself. And once you like and love yourself, you can then be yourself. So the challenge for this week is to, again, identify one place in your life where you've defaulted to groupthink and, think about how you react to it. And if there's anything you want to change, try to observe a moment where groupthink occurs and you react differently than you did in the example that you provided yourself. Once you start consciously taking this reflection and this assessment of how you react to others, it's going to become a habit. And you're going to find yourself falling less and less into groupthink and more critical thinking to allow yourself to stay true to your values, stay true to your goals, stay true to your dreams. I like to say, stay curious, but not too curious. So when you're doing this, don't dig too deep, because if you do, the power of suggestion is going to make you change your opinion just as much as groupthink in itself. So before you really start exploring and being curious about the way others think, make sure you really solidify what you believe and what your values are. But at the same time, it's very important to hear other people out and have this open discourse. I'll close with this, and this is a little bit of a soapbox moment. So many people get so deep into groupthink that they start preaching their ideals or their thoughts and then start putting others down. Just because someone believes differently than you doesn't mean that they're absolutely wrong or sinful or, out to get you. Sometimes we just disagree, and sometimes disagreement is okay. Just allow it and move forward. Don't lose respect for that person. Don't start hating them. Don't start putting them down to your other friends or colleagues. Just listen to them and move on. Now, if it's something that's very critical or it puts you or your children or it's dangerous to you, then you can use that as an ability to cut those people out. But do it nicely. Don't just stop talking to someone and not tell them why. It's a good approach to share with someone, hey, listen, we disagree and I just got to move away because I think that we're, not healthy for each other. You've got to guard your mind. You've got to guard your actions. You've got to guard the work that you do. Anytime you let that down and you let someone else or a group influence your decisions, that's unhealthy. But at the same time, I think sometimes as a society, we're too ready to put our guard up and fight people off who don't agree with us. I personally love hearing differing thoughts. And I don't take those situations to try to change someone's opinion. I just want to listen to them. Once I can understand someone else's thinking, I not only understand my thinking better, but I'm also able to interact with them better. I can make my points more succinctly. I can share ideas and information with them in a way that they, absorb it or the way that they can receive it. So often we don't take account of how someone thinks or acts in the way we deliver the information. So it becomes a one-way communication, and then we get frustrated, and that's where a lot of the anger and hatred happens. So I know that's my soapbox, but I hope you go out there and you find where the groupthink is in your life. Decide what you want to change. But in the process, please be kind to each other. Don't hate your neighbor. Don't put them down just because they may have voted for a different person than you, or go to a different church, or go to a different gym than you do. We're all in this together. And the more that we can create a group and a community of people going after the hard, I think a lot of these differences are going to dissipate. And we're not going to be as dogmatic about, I believe this and this person doesn't believe this, so they're an idiot or whatever. We can really probably live in harmony more. People like to talk about peace and why there's so much stress in the world. Well, there's stress in the world because our lives are so easy, because we're following a path or someone else's goals. And so we create problems for ourselves. once you dedicate yourself to the hard work, you're not going to have time. You're not going to want to take in these negative opinions and have a negative reaction. You're going to be so focused on what you want to do, the changes you're making in your own life, and the impact you're going to have on society. All these things will become mute to you. You won't even be paying attention to this anymore. All right. Well, I hope you liked this episode. Next time, we'll get back onto the easy hard versus hard method, and we'll start talking about self-reflection, self-evaluation, and the process that we can take to start moving ourselves more to the hard and stay in the hard work. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let me know. Also, if you know someone who could benefit from this, please pass it along. As always, I'm Bobby Shelton. I thank you for listening. And until next time, find your hard work and do the work that actually matters to you.